Hi everyone, this is week 4 of our class online. This week you will finally get to start reading our book, Picking Cotton. So for week 4, you will have to read pages 1 through 72, okay? That is the prologue and chapters 1 through 4. Now this book is sectioned off into 3 different parts. Part 1 is Jennifer's story, okay? So that's from when the rape happened until the end of the trial when Ronald Cotton was sentenced. Part 2 is Ronald Cotton's story, and then part 3, they go back and forth in chapters to explain what happened after he was released from prison. So what you'll be reading for this week, the prologue is very short. A prologue is just something at the beginning of a book. In this case, what we're doing is we're looking at Ronald and Jennifer in 2006, and someone is kind of nosy and goes, "Hey, how did you two meet?" And it kind of begins the story of how they met. Chapter 1 is her setting up where she was in life, the rape, going to the hospital, and talking to the police, okay? That's all in chapter 1. Chapter 2 is when she has to look at the photo lineup as well as the physical lineup. Chapter 3, we learn about who Cotton is. We get to see her life after the rape and before the trial, and then he pleads not guilty. And then chapter 4 is the trial, the verdict, and the sentencing. Okay? So as you read this, it's going to be different than when you read the previous 2 essays. So those essays were kind of argumentative. They're trying to make a point. Each paragraph had like a main point and supporting details. This book reads like a story. It's a narrative. And so it's slightly different reading for you. So when you read this, here's a few things to keep in mind. And I will have these typed up and underneath the week 4 schedule or folder on Cobra as well for you. So let's think about the author's purpose. So what would be her purpose in writing this? To inform people, to explain her experiences of what happened to her, and maybe even to convey her own attitude of what that process was like for her, especially as a victim. Also, when we have a story, we want to look at who the people are, who the major players are in it, the setting, the time frame, what year did it happen, what state, city this happened in, and then what are the events in order, okay? Order is very important for events here, okay? And then as you're reading, ask yourself, how are people reacting to Jennifer? How are her friends and family reacting to her? How are the police reacting to her? The DA, the prosecutor in this case, how is everybody acting with her? Even the district or the defense attorney and the judge at the end. And then how does she feel about how people are treating her? What's her reaction to their reaction to her in the news of what happened to her? And how does she just react to everything during this process? Because the rape happens, but then there's a long time before he is sentenced. So how do you deal with all of that as a victim? And then finally, when you're reading through this, pay attention to what the police are doing, what they're saying to her. Were there any problems in the criminal justice system here? Were there any problems with what the police said to her, what they did, what they chose to do, even during the trial? So think about it as you're going to be on a jury someday. Does anything sound a little weird, sound a little off? You're like, that doesn't seem right, okay? Please remember that this happened in 1984, so it is kind of different than what we would think about today. But we're going to talk about that, how things may have been different, things like that. And then don't forget, in the middle of the book, there are pictures, okay? So flip through these. These are around page 218, 219, okay? So you get to see pictures of Jennifer and of Ronald, where it took place, the sketch that they made. Here is the physical lineup, okay? Here is his mugshots, all right? And then you also see here, because we already know already this is a wrongful conviction, pictures of the man who actually did it. In the beginning, they talk about a statue. Here's that statue, and we will talk about that. Here is the detective who helped Jennifer during this case. And then the rest are after this section, okay? And there's a picture of Ronald and Jennifer today of how they're helping people, okay? So always take a look at those pictures as you're reading through this. And so for this week, you're going to be reading through it. Make sure it's your book. Highlight, make notes. So that's what I've done here for myself. I've highlighted the important things, and you don't have to highlight or underline a whole sentence, anything like that. You just want it to be so that when you go back through it, you're not having to reread the entire chapter. You're looking at your notes. So here, I said she lived in Burlington, North Carolina. She always walked to school. And then over here, I've highlighted a few things and then put stuff in the margins as well. Here I said she focused on her studies while she walked, so she wasn't looking around a lot. She was 20 years old. One night she did see someone smoking outside her yard, and we find out that it's July 1984. She went to Elon College, taking summer classes, and then this is where what happened that day, and then the rape starts here. So this is page 11, is where she starts talking about that. So in the first 3 pages of chapter 1, we get to see where she is in life, and then the rape happens. Okay? So make many notes as you possibly can. There will be an annotation worksheet to do. The worksheet is the only thing you have to turn in this week. As you read through these, or if you want to wait until you've read through all 4 chapters, it's up to you. I will have a folder up on Cobra, and it'll say videos to watch after reading, but you can watch them after you finish a chapter if you like. So I've got a folder that says videos for prologue in chapter 1, so if you want to read those and then go on there, I've made a video where I go through the chapter and help explain things, but then I've also included links to videos that I want you to watch that will help further unpack a lot of the things that we're talking about here. And so then I've got folders for chapter 2, 3, and 4. I think 3 is the only one where I don't have any outside sources to look at, but definitely look at the videos that I've included for all of them, because I sit and explain each chapter as we're going through, things to think about and look at. But there's also outside sources, YouTube videos, articles, things like that that I would like you to take a look at, because they deal directly with the topics in this book. All right? So think about those. Think about the things I talked about. And I will have these typed up. They're on Cobra underneath this video. So you can think about those as you're making notes, as you're annotating, what to kind of look for then while you're trying to make notes. If you have any questions about the book, any problems with it, please let me know. Send me an email, and then make sure you get the annotation worksheet done, submitted, and then make sure you follow all of those videos. So remember, we're not meeting in class. Those videos and my videos of me talking are kind of what we would do in a normal classroom setting, so you get them that way. So if you need to set up different days and schedules to read each chapter, make sure you plan ahead like that. And I don't think the book will be a hard one to read. Like I said, it's in a story format. It's pretty straightforward. There's no meandering or anything like that. She gets to the point. The other thing is that the book, each chapter is written in sections. And so if you have a busy life, if you have kids at home, that might be easier for you. So for example, here on this page, you see these dots. Okay, here's a break. So here's this section, and it goes to here. Okay, so if you're having a busy life right now, it might be easy. This book might be easier to read because it has little sections throughout each chapter. So that might be an easier way for you to read a little bit. You have to stop and then you go back. Okay, so make sure you read, you get the annotation worksheet done, and you take a look at the videos up on Cobra. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you're enjoying your week. Take care.